What's up, Kez Head Army? It's finally here, the long-awaited and requested combo video. So before I jump into the actual video, I wanted to just first cover a couple of discussion points that came up in my last guide video, specifically about some item slash skill builds, notably this Falcon Blade Deso build that people have been running on Kez. And I also wanted to quickly cover some ability interactions that I missed, just for completeness sake. And if you want to skip ahead to the combo guide, you can check the timestamps. Also, as an announcement, I've had a couple of people ask about streaming. So what I'm going to do is try and stream once a week starting next Saturday, May 10th at 7 p.m. EST. So if you want to see some live games or have some questions you want to ask about Kez, feel free to tune in. I'll probably just stream it on here on YouTube initially, just because it's easier for me to keep all my stuff in one place for now, and if there's enough interest, we'll just go from there. Okay, so let's talk about this Falcon Blade Deso build, since I've had a lot of people ask me about this build, what my thoughts are on it, does it work, and I've tried to explain how I feel about this build on Reddit comments when I see it being talked about, but kind of the whole idea when you're thinking about itemizing in Dota, there's almost two theories in quotation marks, I'm doing air quotes with my fingers here, theories, where the idea is, do you itemize in a way that makes what your hero normally does even better, or do you itemize in a way to kind of cover the weaknesses of your hero? So the right answer kind of depends on a lot of factors like what's your team, what's the enemy lineup, what's the meta, are we farming, are we fighting? So take for example PA. I feel like that hero used to always build Deso on her, where you leaned into the strength of her glass cannon-ish playstyle where you go in, blow someone up, and you just start ramping with this Deso. And now, if you look at PA, while Deso is still a really popular item, people still building Deso on her. I feel like a lot of the times when I'm seeing PAs in my game, they're building more towards these tanky items or fighting items where you want to build like Sanjin Yasha, these Mantas, where it's more about being tanky and living. Where the idea is, as long as you can live to get your damage out, you're going to be fine. So why am I saying all this? Well, I'm trying to preface that builds can change depending on what the meta is and kind of the state of the patch. So that brings us to this Falcon Blade Deso. Is the build good? So one of the beautiful things about Kez is that he has so much in his kit that you can kind of build around his strength in many different ways. And I think the Deso build leans more towards this bursty game style, which I think is actually kind of gimmicky. But the idea is you have really good burst on Kez. Why not lean into making that burst even burstier, right? Whereas the Battle Fury build is more about, Kez already farms pretty quickly, but now I'm going to farm even faster with this Battle Fury. So my thoughts on this build is that while I think it's viable, I don't think it's a build you ever want to play if you're going in the safe lane. I just think it's way too slow, where let's say you have a really bad laning phase, like, you're really just shut down, and you still decide to commit to this build, you're probably going to lose the game, right? I think this is more of a mid Kez build where you're trying to kind of control the tempo and hit these little power spikes and kind of snowball and take over the game. Where you almost want to play similar to like a Queen of Pain, where you're making rotations early with your ult, you're pressuring these side lanes, kind of giving your cores a better lane and some space to breathe, and then you just snowball. So I think this build really only works. You have this level advantage, which is why I don't think it's very good for safe lane. And the whole idea why I think Kez is such a good Battle Fury hero is that I just think it's a way safer option, right? Where, for example, if I have a really good laning stage, I know I'm going to have this early Battle Fury, and I'm just going to skyrocket and farm and take over the game because of this massive lead that I have. As opposed to if I have a bad lane and I'm going Battle Fury, I know that I've got this Battle Fury, I'm going to be farming very quickly, I'm still able to catch up and maybe turn this game around. So for safe lane, I just don't think that the Deso Falcon Blade build is good unless you really stomp your lane or have some kind of like 5-man early deathball strat where you build these items, you group up, and then you just start taking fights and hopefully winning the game from there. So I think it's an extremely viable option in mid, even though, like I said before, I think it's kind of gimmicky, and in my opinion, this is just not how Kez is supposed to be played. Like, I don't know. I'm not a big fan of this build and the playstyle it kind of promotes, where you just ult and then echo slash and people just die without any potential for counterplay. Just I don't think that's what this hero is supposed to be. And to be honest, I would not be surprised if Valve decides to nerf some of Kez's bursts just because of this build cropping up. Like, I could see a future where they mess around with Kez's level 15 and 20 talents, where they switch to like Kazurai Katana with the double parry talent or something. And if anyone from Valve is watching, please don't do this. This is not me saying please to nerf Kez. Just don't touch him. He's fine. He's perfect. But kind of the TLDR is, I would really not recommend this build if you're playing safe lane. If you really want to play this build instead of Battle Fury, you should just play it mid.
Here we go.
So the first thing I wanted to cover in terms of very basics of the abilities is that one, Falcon Rush, you can actually use this ability on allies. I actually didn't know about this interaction, and I think I'd probably done it before by accident in game and just not really noticed it. But big thanks to Markor LP for pointing this out in my last video. And I wouldn't say it's super useful, but definitely has some niche situations where, let's say like your grapple is on cooldown and an enemy is really far away. If you use Falcon Rush and then A-click an ally, you'll actually rush towards them and then towards the enemy. So you can see here, I Falcon Rush towards an ally and then I instantly just start bouncing towards the enemy. So it's pretty handy if, like, again, someone's far away, you don't have grapple, and you just are missing this little bit of distance to kind of close the gap. And the second thing, super minor, is that you can actually use Echo Slash to get over cliffs. So in some situation where you're trying to make this escape, or just for farming efficiency, for example, you can use it to get over cliffs. Super minor, but I just wanted to put this in here for completeness sake. Okay, so last part to cover before we get into the combos is skill builds. So this part actually ties a little bit into the combo video anyway, but after trying out a couple of suggestions from comments, I'm actually kind of leaning towards putting an early point in grapple depending on the lane. Where if you're playing against people that are bullying you a lot and you can get plenty of parries, I still think parry is just a way better skill to max out in the lane. But I've found that against a lot more passive lanes where, for example, you have a strong position 5 and you think you need to play more aggressive, what I've been doing is going this build where I level up, passive, level 2, Echo Slash, and then level 3, I put a point in Grappling Claw, so I have these 3 spells, and just the bonus burst you get from the Grappling Claw is pretty massive at level 3, where you activate Falcon Rush, and then you dash in, and just the extra hit you get does a lot of damage. It adds up very quickly. And I found that by level 4, I'll put another point in Echo Slash, so my build is like 1, 1, 1, and then 2 at level 4. I found that you don't really need more than level 2 in Falcon Rush to really do a lot of damage, and it just makes you a very threatening, like menacing force in lane. Where again, I think if you have a really strong position 5, where you can, stun an enemy and quickly get on top of them, you don't really have to wait for the parry. You want to be the one to kind of set the tempo. I think it could be really good. Definitely matchup dependent, but if you want to try out this build in lane, I think it's really good. If you're playing mid Kez, I still think you just max Katana always. But, this build is also a viable option. Okay, combos. Let's do it. So I'm splitting the combo section up into 3 parts. The first is like laning / early game combos, so I'm talking like pre-level 6. Second is your early to mid game pre-Aghs. And then part 3 is the mid to late game with Aghs, because I'm not doing a no Aghs late game, because if you're not building Aghs, what you doing, bro? And last bonus part is the perfect parry combo, aka the Shadowhawk Facet is OP combo. Okay, so for early / laning stage, there's really only 2 or 3 little combos you can do. So I'll cover both builds, one where you're maxing parry first, or the other one where you put this early point in grapple. But the biggest thing to emphasize when you're laning as Kez is that you always want to be in side stance, so the little dagger stance, just because any combo you can set up is going to be way better when you are in side stance and are able to swap into katana stance after. So the first combo is the very basic one that I've shown before, where if you're going this parry build, all you're really doing is setting up for the parries and then switching to katana stance and popping the parry mark with your Echo Slash. So what that looks like is your classic, someone's right-clicking me, I parry, swap into katana stance, Echo Slash. And if you're going this build, that's pretty much the only combo you can do. The only other combo is, you know, maybe you Falcon Rush to try and bait them to right-click you, and then get a parry, and then you swap, pop a marker, something crazy. It's not even a combo, right? Then you're just playing the game. So that's the very first basic combo. Parry, pop it with Echo Slash. So the other combo you can do is if you're putting this early point in grapple, is again, you want to always be in side stance where you're in lane for the potential for parry and just swapping into katana stance. But for this one, let's say you get a parry or your position 5 stuns someone and you want to harass. This combo, you activate Falcon Rush, you swap to katana stance, and then you grappling claw in. And the idea behind this is that the grappling claw will replicate or procs your Falcon Rush, so you get this extra auto in, which just makes your burst very, very good for this early in the game. So what that looks like again is pop Falcon Rush, put your grappling claw, and you get this nice big burst of damage. You can see, you know, one stun and this guy was dead for sure, right? Okay, so for mid or early to mid game, there's 3 kind of basic combos I think that you want to be using throughout the stage of the game. They're kind of broken down into like an aggressive one, a more defensive one, and then more of like a counter gank one. So the first, which is a more offensive one, is you start off in katana stance, and what you want to do is grapple in, use an Echo Slash, swap into side stance, and then pop your Raven's Veil. And the idea is that your second Echo Slash will proc this hit. So what that looks like is, again, starting off in katana stance, I grapple in, Echo Slash, swap, I let this hit, and then I start hitting on them in side stance. So it's a pretty aggressive combo. I actually am not a big fan of this combo. I use it very rarely, mostly because I don't like committing my ult like that. But it is a pretty good combo to like blow up supports that might be out of position farming a side lane that, you know, you can quickly get in, blow them up, and get out. So it's more of an aggressive combo to use when someone is out of position. The second combo, which is the more defensive one, is where you start off in Psy form and you pop your ult, swap into katana form, and Echo Slash. This is more of like a, let's say the enemy's pushing your tower and you know there's a couple of people hiding in the bushes or whatever, so you want to kind of spook them away. It's more of like an anti-push, scare people away combo, where you just pop this, you know, hit 1 or 2 people, and it might be enough to kind of stop a push. Not more. This isn't really a combo you initiate with. It's more of something you use to hold the enemy at bay, I guess. And the last combo, which if you've watched my other videos, you probably have seen this a couple of times. But you start this one with a parry, and then you follow the parry up with a grapple, ult, and katana stance, and then you can swap back to Falcon Rush, or you can Echo Slash to hunt them down. So what that looks like is, for example, I'm playing against their carry, I get a parry, I dash in, ult as soon as the dash goes off, and then I can either Echo Slash for damage here, or wait the extra second or 2 before this comes off cooldown, and swap in Falcon Rush to hunt them down. So if you've seen my other videos or clips I've uploaded, you've probably seen this combo a lot. I think this is one of my favorites, and it's why I've said in many of my other videos and guide videos this idea that Kez is like the king of the turnaround, where you know, an enemy's like, oh, I'm going to harass you, and then you instantly just turn it around on their face. And I think this is really kind of where Kez shines, is in this combo. Like these kind of combos where you parry and then do some kind of turnaround, right? Where, you know, I'm giving you these combos or order of abilities, but the biggest thing is really just using Kez's kit with the parry to turn any kind of damage or harass around onto the enemy. Okay, so now let's talk the big kahuna combos here. So now you've got your Aghs, you've hit level 15 with the Raven's Veil Mark, applies parry bonus. Now's when you can really, I mean, Kez just turns into a beast once you have your Aghs. So I covered this in my last video, but the kind of main big combo that's going to set up, I think, the biggest turnaround potentials, or kind of the biggest shutdown of a team fight combo, is you start off in katana stance, and I think generally you always want to be in katana stance once you have Aghs. It seems like it's just always better to set up combos when you start in katana stance. But the big juicy combo is start off in katana, swap to side stance, dagger silence, grapple in, swap echo slash, or Falcon Rush echo slash, swap, ult, and then ult again. So this uses all of your abilities. So when it's fast, it looks something like this: silence, grapple, swap, 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 and then ult in. And the idea behind it is that that echo slash stun sets up for a really nice raptor dance, where if you hit like 2 to 4 people with your echo slash stun, they're all about to get raptor danced. And I'll put in a clip, or try to find some clips and show some examples of that. But this is like the big main combo of when you want to jump in. But kind of the idea of once you get Aghs is essentially setting up all combos like that. So for example, you don't have to start by committing in, right? You can do a different version of the early mid-game combo where now you do something like start in katana, swap to Sai, Falcon Rush, swap, echo, and then dash in and silence, and then ult again, right? So let me redo that. So start in katana, swap, swap, hit your ult again. And that's kind of the basic idea of Aghs, is just setting up situations where you're just swapping in between all these abilities. And that's why getting stunned or silenced is so dangerous on Kez, since as soon as you interrupt any part of this combo, you kind of are screwed a little bit if you have a bad timing on your Aghs scepter, or, you know, it's just bad. Any kind of silence or stun really ruins Kez's day in a team fight. But yeah, I think the overall combo is this, but the general idea is to always be doing as much damage as you can, mostly with Falcon Rush from side stance. I think if you take, for example, that defensive combo, now it's amped up even more with the Aghs, where you started in katana, swap to Sai, dash, echo slash. It just does a bunch of damage, right? I can't even say all the stuff I'm doing all at once. But essentially you just want to be using all your abilities and overlapping with Falcon Rush as much as possible. So the actual full defensive combo, if I can do it right, is do this, this, and I'll put that stuff up on the screen just because I can't speak and narrate the abilities I'm pressing here. Okay, so for the perfect parry combo, you have to be playing Shadowhawk Facet to do this, and I think you should always be playing Shadowhawk Facet. I think it's the situations where it's good, it's just so good that it just outweighs anything Flutter does in terms of damage. So I've mentioned this before about this idea where with the Shadowhawk Facet you can permanently parry autos from carries, and this little clip I'm about to show you, this is from a game that we're pretty far behind. You can see 16 minutes, the enemy has a 7k lead, you know, they're kind of running away with the game, and we finally take a decent fight, and it starts off here, and you see that PA is going to come in here in a little bit, and starts cleaning up. I swap, I get one parry, and you see, this is where the Facet really shines. I get another parry, I parry again, and then I set up for the ult here, just a little bit unfortunate the Rubik was out of the way, but we still net the kill, and now we're in really good shape, right? We just almost full wiped them. I'm getting closer to my Aghs. I know I'm going to be able to carry this game now. And really, that's kind of what I wanted to highlight and why I think Flutter is so good. It's for these situations here where you just manage to turn a fight around that you never would have been able to with Flutter. Oof. Thanks for watching, Kez Head Army. So again, I'll be streaming May 10th, 7 p.m. EST, so feel free to tune in, watch some hopefully Kez gameplay if it's not banned. And also a big shout out to K-Poppy Brian, who also made a combo Kez video that's maybe a little more in depth than mine. I'll put a link to his video in the description below.